Okay, good evening all. Okay, well, it's Happy New Year as well. And, this being 2012, we hope to make it all the way through without any sort of disruptions. I know that my own calendar runs out, so did mine, and I bought a new one on the 1st of January. So, right, I'll just start off with some work with them over here now. Right, okay. I'll just find that right now. Right, just a little bit of the sun, and then what I'll do is rather than the usual sort of look around the sky, I want to look more specifically at the circumstances during the events next week. Because I've had a little play with the planetarium and got some things there. The sun is not tremendously lively at the minute. In fact, it seems to be retreating into a somewhat quieter phase. There is one spot there, 1393, that's just disappearing off the edge of the sun that has been flaring a little bit, but nothing that's caused huge auroras, certainly not this far south at all. And I did see a report today of an aurora in Donegal, and now I have to say that I was on an EasyJet last night, and as the plane sort of turned round, I was on the right side of the plane, I was looking north. I kind of thought I might have seen some glow, but I thought, well, hang on, we've got a nearly full moon behind me, you know, so I wasn't convinced about anything there. But and this was beyond the time I was allowed to use a camera, you know, the seatbelt signs, all that stuff. So, sun, I think, is quietening down for the moment. I mean, anything can happen, of course, but those two sunspots there aren't really anything that dramatic. But Peter has been out and has managed to find some sunshine. Pictures from the 9th of January there, and this is the beast there that was cracking away a bit, 1393. And a couple of other big groups there, 1391 and 95. Again, not really turning out to very much, but they look really good. And again, here Peter was doing the usual thing of photographing those in different lights. Got the hydrogen alpha in there, which is the very red colour, and the calcium K spectrum. I was just looking this up actually, that calcium has two main lines of spectrum called H and K, and this one is in the ultraviolet, mostly K, and you can hardly see anything. If you look through one of those telescopes, I can't see anything. Some people say that they can see a structure there, and I suppose it depends how sensitive your eye is to you know, the violet end and stuff, but really that only comes out an electronic sensor that picks up ultraviolet. So it gives a very good insight into the structure of the sun. It's not very bright because there isn't a great deal of calcium in the sun. So that's how the sun is looking at the minute, and just one more of those. That's purely in the calcium K spectrum line. And again, there's active region 1393 and 1391 there. But we'll wait and see what comes around the other side next time. But at the moment, there's nothing too huge happening. Picture here from John Hall. John's been out photographing things, and that's Venus. Venus is now very bright in the southwest just after sunset. And we'll look a little bit more at that in a moment, but I actually saw it the other evening just out the car window, and I wasn't in a position to stop. So that's Venus. We'll see a lot more of Venus in the coming months, actually. It's an evening star. If you look at it through a scope, it is slightly gibbous in phase, which means that it's on the far side of the sun from us, effectively. It's coming out from the far side. Moving around, it goes higher in the sky, it will become a half crescent, and then it will start getting closer to the sun again and get thinner and thinner and thinner. Which reminds me, Dave, I've got a picture. Okay, well, what I did was I just had a look at the conditions for, hopefully, some clear skies for the three events that we're involved in next week, and we'll see in a moment that Monday evening here is a very good evening to pick for a Jupiter watch. We look at the sky as it is at that time. This is 6 o'clock Monday evening, which is when we're kicking off, and Jupiter is quite high up in the south, just slightly to the east of south, so it'll get a little bit higher in the sky, and then it will start to drop down. But also, we do have some other planets. Probably won't see them from the vantage point here. We'll probably do better on the other 2 days for for Venus and the other planets here. But Jupiter should be quite spectacular, and I'll show you why I say that. Because if we zoom in on Jupiter there, we'll have 3 of the moons readily visible. That's again at 6 o'clock. Ganymede, Io, and Callisto. And we'll see the equatorial bands of Jupiter. And if we zoom into that picture even further, that is how Jupiter will look at 6 o'clock on Monday. And the thing about this is a bit optimistic in that it shows some of the very minor moons, but you're not afraid going to see those. You'll see the 4 Galilean moons with any equipment that we've got, and that'll be it. But just here, you'll see that the great red spot is coming round into view. And if we wait a while, as the evening goes on, that's the view at 8 o'clock. So we should get a good view of the great red spot during Monday's Jupiter observing session. If of course the weather plays ball, and that's the great unknown. We think going out 3 nights should get something. So that's Jupiter on the Jupiter watch night. The following night down at Loch Ney, 17th, again starting at 6 o'clock in the evening. We'll have all sorts of things to look at in the sky here. If we get a reasonable southwest view, which I think is probably sort of over some trees from the vantage point, but Venus is now very, very bright in the southwest. Venus being sort of magnitude about 3.9, minus 3.9, another one, whatever. It is, apart from the Sun and the Moon, the brightest object in the sky, with the very occasional exceptions of some iridium flares and stuff that can be a bit brighter. But it is rising higher as the weeks wear on now. Apart from Jupiter, there's a couple of other planets on the show. I'm not sure whether we'll see Neptune. Neptune is actually pretty low to the horizon now, and whilst Venus will show up there, Neptune being magnitude 8 or thereabouts, difficult to see. A bit higher than Venus is Vesta, minor planet, or dwarf planet Vesta, which is actually a teeny bit brighter than Neptune, strangely, although it's much tinier, it's nearer and nearer the Sun, so it's about magnitude 7.6 or so. And it should be possible to see Uranus, if I sort of zoom in on those a little bit. Yeah, that's the lower bit, and Uranus really quite high up. Again, this is 6 o'clock. These will all drop as the evening goes on. That's how Venus would look, really close up. See, it's just got a little bit of a phase on it at the moment. It's just not quite round. Probably quite difficult to actually see that in a scope. I always find that it needs to be sort of getting down towards half before it takes on an obvious shape. But that's just how it is. But it's starting to actually just have a bit of a shadow on it, Venus. Neptune, if we can actually see it at all, might look something like that. We're not going to see any of the moons. Maybe on another occasion you can see Triton, although that's not very bright either, but most of the moons of Neptune are big telescopic objects. But we might be able to see the planet itself using Venus as a signpost on either of probably Tuesday or the Wednesday session. Uranus we should be able to see. It's a green blob in a telescope. It's certainly well worth a look, and actually quite high enough up. It's near the circles in Pisces or beneath the Great Square of Pegasus, and it does have moons, but I've never seen any of them, I have to say myself. I did once see a photograph. Brian, you've taken a photograph of the moons of Uranus, haven't you? So it can be done with a sensitive enough camera and a big telescope.
Just about visible with 11 inches.
Is it? Is that right? Yes, I never have, because I have anything over 10, so there we are. So Uranus we should be able to get a glimpse of, and that's certainly one of the occasions. Just looking at a bit later on in the evening, this was sort of a view to the southeast at 8 o'clock in the evening. And Orion is well up there, and actually Sirius will be above the horizon at that time as well. I did see Sirius actually from the EasyJet last night, Orion and Sirius, sort of above the clouds that were covering England at the time. And it looked very nice in the night sky. just looking in a bit closer at Orion particularly, it's something that's well worth seeing if we can get a good enough telescope on things. These three stars here are three stars of the belt of Orion. So that's what I've sort of looked into here, just to give you an idea of where everything is here. And this star down here, the lower of the three of the belt, is called Alnitak. And next to Alnitak, here we have two things really of note. One is the Flame Nebula here, NGC 2024. That's quite easy to see actually, and it sort of shows up quite easily on sort of wide field photographs of Orion taken with sort of 50mm lens or so. You can quite easily see that. What is a lot harder to actually see with the naked eye, and not that easy to photograph either, we've got this cloud of red star forming region here, and you've got this dark nebula casting its shadow against it, and that is the famous Horsehead Nebula. So it's just down a little bit from Alnitak is where to find it. You can see it through a telescope, but it's really need a big scope and a dark sky to see it, and you can photograph it as well. But again, it's quite hard to. It's one of those things you need to process quite a lot to sort of enhance this red and keep the blacks black to actually get a picture of. So that'd be nice to see. Also, of course, the other main region of Orion that we need to look at, we have really two main areas of nebulosity here. The main star-forming region of Messier 42, this area here, that whole central area there is new stars being created. Then Messier 43, its partner here, is separated by this dark dust flame. And above them, the Running Man Nebula, NGC 1977. You can see the sort of shape of the Running Man there. It's sort of a dark nebula on a region of luminosity. So that's well worth a look as well. I hope we'll get conditions to see some of that, particularly on Tuesday night. Going to the Begmore Stone Circle for sunrise on Wednesday afternoon. We'll be able to see, as soon as the sun sets there, we'll be able to see Venus. Might get a crack at Neptune there, just down here, and should be able to see Uranus within an hour or so of the sun setting. It should be dark enough. And while we're in that sort of part of the world, then you've got the Great Square of Pegasus here. It's the old signpost thing. You take these two stars along the top, turn a corner there, go the same distance up to sort of the 10 o'clock direction from there, stop, go to the next star here, and then go the same distance again, and right there, that's the Andromeda Galaxy, furthest away thing you can see with the naked eye. If you're ever going to see it, it's here on Wednesday, I would say, a good dark sight. There's no moon in the sky. If we stay there long enough after sunset, you should be able to see that with the naked eye. And what I always find actually is I can't see it straight on, but if I look just sort of away from it, with the vertic vision, I can see the Andromeda Galaxy myself. I'm not usually very good at dim objects, but there we are. Right, so that's stuff that we can see in the sky there, and all we need to have is clear skies. So let's keep the fingers crossed. Thank you very much.